Now on Parenting Today, we want to help parents navigate the issue of conflict resolution among their kids. Sometimes you just suddenly hear like loud noise around the house and you're wondering what's going on. Suddenly two kids are fighting. Now, how do you remain impartial while passing across the right message? The founder of Premier and First Parenting blog, Yetty Williams of LagosMums, has joined us this morning to help us with this. Mrs. Williams, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing well, thanks. And yourself?
So first, how are you coping with the lockdown? 2 weeks gone, 2 weeks left to go.
Yes. Well, you know, it's definitely not what I think I had kind of priced it in, because from the numbers and following what's going on in the world, I kind of suspected it would happen. So maybe I wasn't 100% shocked, but it doesn't mean it's easy. Another 2 weeks at home is tough.
Yeah, it is. It is tough, and then particularly so for parents who have kids at home, learning how to navigate this. I'm not sure there's any parent who has had to stay with their kids, especially if you have 2-3 kids at the same time in the house. Today, we want to talk about conflict resolution and staying, being neutral when you're resolving conflict. So let's start from a situation. Generally, let's even talk about conflict resolution among children, because I didn't even think that parents would have to do that or call it that kind of a thing. So let's start from there. So what is conflict resolution among children?
Okay. So I mean, even twins disagree, right? So everybody is going to disagree at some point. And the truth is that our children, as siblings, that's the first place for them to learn about conflict resolution, about resolving differences, and learning to resolve differences in a creative way. I'll explain what I mean by creative, and also a kind way. So if a child at home gets away with throwing tantrums, hitting his siblings or her siblings because they're annoyed every time, you're teaching that child that it's okay to lash out. And that's the child that will go outside and also hit people outside, and he or she might get into trouble. So I think it's important to encourage our children when they have differences at home, first of all, to calm down, so they can't just lash out based on how they feel. And one simple example, something I started doing as the kids started getting older, was to ask each other what happened. So I wouldn't immediately jump in and try to say, I saw you doing this, because the child that you see pushing somebody might be pushing his or her sibling, but you don't know what the other one had done that provoked them to that point. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very important when something happens for you to ask them both there.
So typically,
from both of them's perspective.
Yeah. So
that
typically, I've seen
that you are valuing both their perspectives in the midst of what just happened between two of them.
Yeah. So typically, I've seen where a parent is trying to resolve a conflict, but usually it's always in favor of the younger child, especially usually when the younger child is screaming in pain or is crying, and so you find a situation where maybe one of the children is 6 years old, the other is 3, and so parents tend to resolve the conflict in favor of the younger one, and sometimes it's only when you then dig deeper you find out that sometimes maybe it was a younger child that was being a bit mischievous in that kind of situation. And I don't know I'm curious to know what Tokwe's perspective is in this. I know you have nephews and nieces.
So basically, I don't favor anybody. I just deal with the truth. So if the younger one is wrong, I find a very good way to actually call the younger one to order. And if the older one is wrong, I do same. Because the truth is, I feel like at this point, you have to start making them take responsibility for their actions, so they know that you can't be mischievous and get away with it because you're the younger one, which would make them have some kind of emotional leaning towards, I'm the younger one, so I will get away with it, yes.
Yeah, so that happens a lot. But sometimes even if there's a bit of conflict, a lot of parents don't respond because, you know, as a parent, sometimes you're just tired.
Yes,
but once
can
the younger
imagine.
one starts to cry, your parents respond to that, and sometimes you can make a rash decision because you're thinking, oh, why did you beat this younger child? You know that he's always like that. So,
Yeah.
but you say that you resolve it, you try and create a balance.
Yes, I try to create a balance because I wouldn't want the other one to feel left out, or the other one being right now might want to do the wrong thing the next time because he feels like, well, if my younger brother got away with it, I can as well get away with it, and then I lose the essence of that one being the good one. So I think it's best, or rather I will just tell you what it is there and then, and because I feel like kids these days are a lot more emotionally stronger than we used to be then, and they can handle it.
You think so? Because I mean, there are certain people who feel like kids now feel very entitled because we live in a generation where, you know, kids have access to a lot more things than back in the 70s, 80s, or even in the 90s as well.
Yeah, I do. I share that belief that kids these days feel entitled. I mean, back when I was much younger, I had to get to a certain age before I could get a phone. But my younger brother got a phone because he said they needed phones in school.
Yeah.
And it was normal. And I remember telling my mom that, nope, my child is not going to have a phone till SS1, when I know that during his GSS3 holiday, he will go and learn a trade or do something and use the money. Do you get? But these days, things just come easily to them, which makes them feel entitled. And parents don't kind of like help either.
Yeah, I'm also curious to know what our parents who are watching right now, who are online, also think as well about this kind of situation where it's you know, finding a balance. It can be pretty tough, you know, when you're trying to deal with the kids and all of that. Finding a good balance, because sometimes it's always skewed in the favor of the younger children. But, you know, as a parent, you always try to, you know, do your best and be as balanced and as you know, non-partisan, if I were to use those words, as possible. Anyway, usually that's the case, but so hopefully our parents are, you know, taking one or two things. Now, I'm not sure we've been able to connect back with.
Is anxious, everybody's feeling cooped up. Our children are uncertain. You know, the other day my son told me, you know, we're used to going up and down the stairs in school more than 8 times a day. And here I am just stuck at home. I can't move. And what I said to him was just, you know what, maybe we should do it here as well. Let's go up and down the stairs the same 8 times you would at school. So our children themselves are trying very hard to make sense of this new normal. We keep saying new normal, but I pray that it's not new normal. It's temporary. So let's not even use the language new normal, because that can even create its own level of fear and uncertainty that, you mean this is what life has become for us now. So let's talk about, you know, other ways to talk about this period without using terms like that add to the anxiety. Now, as parents, we're all very overwhelmed. A lot of us haven't spent this amount of time with our children non-stop. That's the truth, you know. So it is tough on everybody. You're having to be at home together from morning to night. But as I say, this time is not the time for parents to lash out at their children or to call them names. You know, because when you lash out at them, you're breaking your child's spirit, and your child is only going to remember how they felt during this time. When everything goes back to true normal, your children are going to remember that there was a time they were stuck at home with their family. How did they feel during that time? So if you're unhappy with your child's behavior, rather than lash out, rather than call them names like, you're so stupid, can't you be like your brother, what's wrong with you? All those comments are very, very hurtful. You have to focus on the behavior at hand. So if your child did not share with his or her sibling, and that's what you're trying to correct, you should let them know. Don't say you're such a selfish child. What's wrong with you? You talk about the behavior. So say that is a selfish behavior, if you want to use that word selfish, to teach them what selfish means. And then you go on to say you should share with your child. That is not nice that you wouldn't share. Now share with your child, or ask why they don't want to share. But let's refrain from using labels at this time, and let's refrain from lashing out. Because when we do that, we're teaching our children what? We're teaching them that it's okay for them to lash out as well. We're teaching them it's okay to call people names, because our children will do what we do, not what we say. I think I want to repeat that. Our children will do what we do more than what we say. So it's one thing to say, be kind to your sister, be kind to your brother, take turns, you know, but when it comes to you, they don't see you doing the same things. So that's something else that's very important, I think, for us to keep in mind. And I want to talk about emotional intelligence as well. Emotional intelligence is something that's highly critical, and more companies are even looking for that in terms of the skills they're looking for in somebody that they want to hire for their companies. Emotional intelligence is the intelligence you have when it comes to your emotions, how to keep it in check, how to respond appropriately at the right time to the right thing. It's not something you suddenly download when you become an adult. It's something you're learning right from childhood. So we have to give them an enabling environment to test out their emotional muscle.
On that note, we have to round off with Yetty Williams there. We had some technical challenges at the beginning, but hopefully you were able to learn a thing or two. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more.